All right, welcome to the second episode of Arductive. Here we're trying to answer important questions that you ask yourself when growing. So first of all, it's Carlos, as the last time, and I'm here with my buddy Joel. How you doing, Joel? Did you sleep well tonight?
Everything's well. How about you, Carlos?
Yeah, I'm doing fine too. I was just thinking about some stuff to say in this podcast because today I like to introduce the topic of something that I would call developing your morals too fast regarding to your skills. But to put you in a bit of context, I'm going to tell one personal example that we can go further in the reflection section. But basically, for example, for me, I used to work as a commercial agent. You know it, right? And I think you took that job too. And I had to sell some phone company to people in different businesses. And while I was doing that, I didn't believe that the motivations that they were giving me were aligning my values. Like my bosses would just tell me just to seek for success in that and to try to earn as much money as possible, selling something that for me was not worth it. Like it's a product that I wouldn't even buy. That's why I wasn't a good seller actually. So my question here is that why sometimes or is it worth it to develop your moral code too fast before you develop some skills like some charismatic skills to be able to sell a product or something like that. So I have thought some stuff, but I would like to know what's your first round on that.
My first round is first of all, you are raised with some values. So if what you do doesn't align with initially what you believe in, it's gonna imply a lot of resistance doing it. So why not getting ahead and starting with something that actually resonates a little bit with you? Because I understand totally your point. I was a commercial agent as you, and one thing that did motivate me was that I myself wouldn't even buy what I was selling. So that put me down a lot and spiraled me down. So we could start by saying, let's find something that aligns a little bit with our values, and then we can walk around that.
Yeah, perfect. I don't think alike, but in that sense, there and we could say, for examples, I've seen some counter examples to this because you could see the example of typical hippie, which is expressing love and caring, and it's all good vibes and stuff, but is not even able to pay his own bills. So that can make you think that you, even though you feel that you want to take something that is aligned with your values, your actual situation is not giving you the all the facilities you need for that, in the sense of maybe you like to do something but you don't have yet the skills, or more important in this situation, which is the money, and you feel forced to take another kind of job that you don't like. So using Maslow pyramid logic, you would try to go first for the survival stuff, which is having enough money, having some shelter where to live, and yeah, and basically, if you don't have the money, you you're forced to live on the street if you get to an extreme situation, and you have to then prostitute what is your prostitute your values if you want to survive sometimes, and not in that hard way here in the first world countries, but if you go to a second world countries or third world countries, the situations are much worse, and you have to put yourself in jobs that aren't aligned with you, and that's pretty shitty. So what would you think of that situation?
So I think the debate that we should be having around revolves around, should we first go out there and get a little bit damaged so then we could later reconstitute and create some morals from scratch, or should we just kind of come with from our pre-existing positions and then kind of dabble around that? I think that is the question that this debate should roam around a little bit.
Pre-existing positions. What do you mean with that?
I mean, we at the moment we have some moral positions and some stances on a couple things.
Okay.
So let's. I'm playing the devil advocate this time. Should we first get beaten the hell out there? For example, selling contracts that we wouldn't even buy, and then get frustrated because I think frustration plays a great role in developing morals and developing skills as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
just staring at the possibility of first let's go to the world skillless and let's get toughened up and hard on streets. What do you think about that perspective? Tell me something about it.
I think you should try to balance some stuff out. Try to, if you're looking for a job, then you try to look for something that fits for you. But if there are no good options, you just take something that gives you money and you hustle a little bit so you can develop more skills in your stuff and be able to find a better job that aligns better with your morals and values so you can be more happy at the end of the day. But it doesn't mean that
Okay.
you are going to be forced to do something you don't like. But that's life self. If you don't make the effort, you end up having some mediocre situation that you don't like, and that's why we have to hustle sometimes, in my opinion. And yeah, and I think also that developing like morals is usually something that goes slower than you developing skill. Yes, taking a macro scale, there can be a society with very well developed scientific skills, but have a shitty morals. Like, I don't know, just to put extreme example, the Nazis. They had really good technology, and but in the sense of human rights and values, they were lacking a little bit. And that can be taken to the individual level. You can hustle and work pretty hard, but if you don't ask yourself the important questions, then you're gonna get lost and you're gonna struggle a lot in life with a lot of shit that you didn't even ask for. So I think that's the idea of if you have your morals to develop too soon. I think it's just an illusion. I think it's just a manifestation of homeostasis. It's you not wanting it to change, in the sense of let's see the commercial age an example, saying okay, but if I grow my values and if I do what I think is the right thing, I won't be able to sell anything. But yeah, that can lead you to a better situation. Or if not, if you think okay, if I don't feel like I'm selling the right thing, I'll try to convince myself that I'm selling the right thing. That's a bit playing the confirmation bias, but on yourself. Yeah, but I think that you should always try to develop your moral skills, balance with the technical skills, of course, but not developing the moral skills, is like being lost in the sea. Let's say, I mean, you should try to develop your skills. You should try to get good grades if you're a student. You should try to do good at job if you're working, or to develop your business better, or to try to create more interesting thing if you're following an artistic path. But if you don't have your values right aligned, if you don't have those things that are important to you in mind, or if you don't know basically what's important for you, and if you don't question what is important for you every single day of your life, you're gonna be lost. So you need that kind of moral support, moral code, that is the kind of light that guides you in being lost at sea. You can row pretty hard and you can make the boat move fast, but if you don't have that point where you want to go, you're gonna end up lost and without knowing what do you want to do in life.
All right, so let's start with something different. Just imagine a 19-year-old
Okay.
guy that is just got out of college because the thing that he did wasn't motivating him. So this is an alternate scenario. In this case, for example, imagine that that person that doesn't have a lot of means with him. So he has to take on like a job. He has to take what it's offered essentially. So
Okay.
and doing that skillless, let's say, because when you get out of college, you're pretty much without skills. You don't have a lot of skills if you didn't develop that beforehand.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you have a lot of knowledge.
so getting out there and just with shitty jobs, it's gonna improve your skills at the beginning. First, you're gonna be a little bit vamped up or wrapped up. I don't know the word right now. So that's
No, but I
gonna
got your point.
that's gonna prompt you. I mean, working in a job you don't like, it's gonna anger you a lot. And what if you can actually channel that anger towards developing your moral code? Or what if you can use that anger to develop more skills so that those skills can land you a good job, so that later you can get tired of that job that you hate, so that can prompt you later to develop your morals. What do you think about that path? Especially compared with the one you drew before, because you were talking about high
Mm-hmm.
idealistic stuff, which I'm a lot into as well. But I also acknowledge that first, that I acknowledge the power that frustration can have on people. Frustration and anger and bitterness can just empower people if it's
Mm-hmm.
channeled the right way. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think those are strong emotions, and strong emotions are. It's I feel in the emotional plane. I think it's this way. Strong emotions are quite connected to one another, even though if it's something that can seem too opposed, like real excitement or being really angry. So
Yeah.
if you kind of develop your emotional skills, you can try to channel that anger to some vital energy to say, okay, I'm frustrated, I don't like my situation, and that's why I'm gonna get motivated. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So yes, and that's basically the way you grow. You grow making mistakes. You grow being in situations that you don't like to be. Because it kind of reminds me of the hero's journey. Like, the hero leaves the village and he starts his adventure when he sees that he has nothing left in the village, or he doesn't have the option to stay in the village, because in the village he's not gonna be happy because, let's say, a dragon burned the village down, so he has to move. Or there's some sort of bad leader in the village that wants to kill him, or is making his life impossible.
Okay.
And he starts his journey saying that his situation is not where he wants to be in a long period of time. And that's why it's really important to make mistakes and to force yourself to be in difficult situations. And I'm not telling you to make mistakes on purpose, or I'm not telling you to to go out there and suffer and seek for suffering. I mean, life is gonna bring it to you anyways. But the thing is that if you feel like, for example, you are in front of a difficult decision,
All right.
you shouldn't try to run away from it, and you should try to tackle that decision and to make the hard emotional effort to take that decision, even though what you feel it's not. I mean, even though if the idea that you feel is not where you should go according to what your parents have told you, or what your friends have told you, as long as it feels right for you. That's kind of how I summarize it.
That resonates with me so much. So let's. I think that we're kind of defending different positions in this episode, but at the same time, I think we agree on the most fundamental things. So, what do you think are the positives and the drawbacks of developing skills first without moral?
I think that you can, you can try to, you can develop your skills and you can become a workaholic, and you can have results at the end, and very good results if you work really, really hard and you get to some point. But the thing is that you're gonna end up unhappy. And what I believe human beings are seeking fundamentally is happiness. And it sounds logic. It can resonate for most of the people that human beings were seeking happiness. But the thing here is that even though we're seeking happiness, I think we don't know how to seek happiness. And we try to seek happiness in the wrong kind of stuff. I'll tell you the example of Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is some guy that, well, for what I know about him, I haven't really done a deep research in his life, but he's some man that was that grown up in a rich family. His father was really tough on him, and he really wanted him to be able to have the rich values of having really taking hard efforts. So he eventually got sparked by that, and he kind of wanted to overcome his father and show his father that he was better than him. So he earned a lot of money only with that small loan of $1 million. And sorry, but that video always gets me. Yeah, and so he ended up creating a lot of money, but the thing is that what I see Donald Trump is thinking is that he sees that all that money, all that power is where his happiness resides. So he will seek that money, he will seek that power, becoming president of the United States, for example. But at the end of the day, I'm sure probably all that is making himself stressed. He also gets into a lot of emotional battles with other power figures, and he wants to show that he's better than other people. So that's making himself suffer because he's judging himself at that point. So he's basically struggling to seek that kind of power and money, thinking that happiness is there, while I think he's looking in the wrong position, and that's making him unhappy. But he doesn't want to believe that. He feels unhappy, but probably at the end of the day, he tells himself, "Oh, but look at all the money I have. That's why I'm so happy." But for me, that's not real happiness. And that's why I think that if you develop your skills and you get successful without having the right morals, you're gonna end up unhappy, and that's gonna destroy yourself in the long run.
So at this point, it's pretty much clear that developing them together and keeping a balance amongst them, it's gonna benefit you both in the short, because you're gonna be more satisfied and you're gonna be better work. That means being more creative, and in the long run as well, because you're gonna be able to sustain a long-term strategy and go with it as well. So let's explore a little bit on how can we develop skill and morals together, because skill is much simpler. Skill is generally learned through repetition and through mental connections. But moral is a little bit different. How can we bind the two together and maintain the balance? What do you propose for that?
I like this question. I think it's really interesting because it makes me summarize what we've learned in this podcast. Okay, now we know that developing morals is pretty important because otherwise you will get lost. But at the same time, for the Maslow's pyramid, you should try to do things that help your survival, because otherwise you end up dead basically, or in a horrible situation that you don't want to be. So what you should do is every day you develop your skills in whatever kind of thing you're into. If you're studying, keep studying. If you're studying, keep studying. Then if you're working, work hard and try to get your money. But do not forget to develop your moral code. And the way you can do it, I'd say, it's reading a bunch of books, or reading a bunch of articles, or watching a bunch of YouTube videos or podcasts, and no marketing intended here. And basically, what you should need to do and what you try to do is to get as much lessons as possible, and overall from people that you feel that they are more intelligent than you. Also, I think it's really good to ask yourself some moral dilemmas. For example, when I was a student in high school, I got this question, which was from a philosophy teacher, and is that we have a man whose wife is really sick and is about to die, but this man also has no money. Would it be ethical that he steals medicine just to save the life of his wife? I leave you that dilemma to think at home, but basically that's the point I want to bring here, is that you put yourself in difficult situation, or you imagine difficult situations, and you try to learn and grow from that. And that's basically how you develop your morals and do not get lost in life. And you were able to create a life that is better for yourself, where you feel more in touch. Okay. So I think we've said enough for today. We're gonna expand this topic a little bit in our reflection section that we'll upload a couple of days later than this. And that's basically all that we had to say. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you, Joel. And as always, just see you in the next podcast. Bye.